Good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to see so many people on this call, and we're talking about a really important topic today, as many of you are starting to think about starting back up or have been involved in having a family child care home or a center that's been open all this time. And so we're really excited that we're able to give you this valuable information today. But before we begin, I did want to acknowledge that as we all are very aware, we've been in a time where the issues of racial injustice have once again come to the surface, and I'm very excited they are coming to the surface. And I'm hoping that we'll have some really good dialogues around them. You know that this is something that the mentor program has really focused on in the last few years around social justice, and particularly racial injustice and implicit bias. I wanted to draw attention to this picture because for me, it's always about the children, and it's about the children because they're our future, and what we do today really impacts them. And this is a little boy. His name is Kai. Many of you may have seen this photograph or some artistic renditions of this little boy. He's 7 years old. And so Kai's mother was trying to explain the protests to him when he saw them on TV. And Kai said, "Well, Mom, I don't understand. Remember Martin?" This little boy loved Martin Luther King. And he said, "Remember Martin already said the speech. Why are we still having this problem? This shouldn't be an issue anymore." 7 years old. And so he insisted to go to the protests that were in Atlanta, and he went and he put his fist up and he said that he was standing for Martin Luther King and for the next, that he wanted to be the next Martin Luther King so that he could make them listen to stop these things, and so that they would not go on any longer. I'm sorry, I may get emotional here. As he did that, you can see in this picture that there's a fist bump of a police officer and a protester and himself. And what he said afterwards was, "Mom, I felt protected. I felt protected by the police officers that were standing on one side of me, and I felt protected by the protesters on the other side of me." So he really felt the true feeling of everyone coming together in unity around this issue. And so I have a question for you, a few questions today that I would like you to reflect on, and then we're going to do a moment of just silence. What will it take to make this stop? What will it take for our children to feel safe and protected by everyone? What is the stance that you will personally take? What Martin Luther Kings are you nurturing in your care right now, in your classrooms, in your homes, in your communities? What Martin Luther Kings are there? And they may be much younger than this child, because we know children are aware at a very young age of what's going on around them. I want you to think about how you can have a respectful, compassionate, and loving heart posture in all your words and actions as you interface with these young Martin Luther Kings. And I want to ask one last question, and that is, how do we give each of them the love, the confidence, and the encouragement to be the change agents that will be our change agents now and in the future? So with that, I just would like us all to take a deep breath. I'm not going to make you hold your breath 9 minutes, but remember that is very significant around one of the incidences that happened. But I would like you to just take a deep breath and reflect on those questions and the Martin Luther Kings that you might have in your care. Thank you. right, I'm giving it back to you, Michelle and Crystal.
Thank you, Mary Anne. Thank you very much for setting us off on the right page today. I am happy to introduce now Crystal Mclendon Gourdine, who's going to be our fearless facilitator for this time together today. And I'm going to say, Crystal, take it away.
All right. So I am just so thrilled to be here with you guys. I got a chance to see the gallery of beautiful faces, so many of who I know through the Director Mentor and the Mentor Teacher program. And we are loving hearing from all of you. Those of you that have said, hey, what's going on in the chat? Feel free to keep all that love and just say, hey, I'm calling from Humboldt or down in San Diego, wherever. So let us know where you're coming from. And I really hope and pray you guys are doing well. I am so pleased to have been with the Director Mentor program for many, many years. And during this time, I am so just grateful and humbled that the Director Mentor, well, the California Early Childhood Mentor program as a whole has really considered opening up time and space for educators and administrators to be with us. So this is the second of our series, really looking at what can we do to support the educator, whether it's a home-based program or a center-based program. And we even have lots of people that are working all the multitude of roles, coaching, supervisory positions. So today we're really going to take you guys what I think is going to be an exciting time to be able to visit virtually 2 different programs. And before we jump into those programs, we want to hear just a little thought question by way of poll. And I'm sure many of you guys have been doing these virtual polls. So Michelle is going to offer a poll, and we want to know what you guys know. And then one of our facilitators, Jenn Greenaway from Ventura County, is going to kind of take us through the very first poll.
Okay, here's our question to get started. Will all counties in California follow the same health and safety guidelines upon reopening? So you guys can go ahead and put your answers in the chat, I think, because the poll option isn't up. So go ahead and share your thoughts in there. Do you guys see this flood of responses? Okay, so you're all correct, or you're mostly correct, because the guidelines do vary county to county. We know counties have been reopening at different speeds. Counties have different requirements. And the most important thing is to talk to your licensing analyst in your county, because they'll be able to guide you as to what's being followed where you're located.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Jenn, and thank you. There was wonderful flow of responses, and like Jenn said, it feels like all of you guys are well informed. So that's the wonderful thing. So our hope for this afternoon is to be able to not only see the classrooms and the home-based environment that we're going to go and visit in just a few minutes, but also to hear some of the procedural kinds of steps that are being considered and taken just as a way to kind of open up your thinking, because we know that there are many right ways, even during this time where there are a lot of guidelines and a lot of requirements. So without further ado, I am going to transition. And Michelle, if you want to spotlight Christy, we are reintroducing Christy Ford, who is the director of the Gluck Childcare Center down in Southern California in San Diego County. And what's really special for those of you guys that may or may not have met her virtually at our last webinar is that when COVID-19 kind of came upon us, the Scripps Health Center was in need of care, which is where this program is housed. And so for the last 3 months, they've been living what we are all kind of embracing as the new normal. So in the last episode of our webinar series, we learned a little bit more about just supporting the staff and all the things that were coming up at that childcare center. So we thought, well, let's dig a little bit deeper. And so we're not only going to be able to revisit with Christy Ford, but she has along with her one of our mentor teachers who has been really thinking about how she can share not only her classroom, but her thinking and what's happening. So I'm really excited to turn it over to Christy Ford. And so we're all going to take a little trip and a journey into the program, and specifically Miss Ross's 4-year-old, I think it's 4-year-old classroom, but
Yeah.
Christy will clarify. So I'm going to turn it over to Christy Ford. Thank you for being with us.
We're going to walk on back, but before I start, I just wanted to let you know that San Diego is a very highly regulated county here. Our center has, like she said, has been open the whole entire time since COVID. We work directly with parents who are working with COVID patients that either have it or are suspected of having COVID. So we're very in the midst of a lot of this. We're one of the centers that were open the whole entire time in San Diego. So, you know, I know Mary mentioned about children know what's going on around them. You know, once we go back to the classroom, you will see how we've adjusted and made a lot of changes during this pandemic. But I'm going to walk you back and show you one of the preschool classrooms. We have children ages 3 to 5 years old. Someone mentioned we're not in the hospital, but we serve children, employees, children of the hospital. So all of our parents are typically doctors or nurses working in the hospital. So we'll walk back with Casey, and as I'm walking back, I'd kind of like to show you the front door entrance and how we handle parents coming into the center. I have actually been through the state Zoom meeting that's required, so I can kind of answer any of those questions that you may have at the end. Just show you a little bit how we've adapted our preschool classroom environment during this COVID pandemic. So I'm going to glove up and I'm going to put on my mask. I'm at my office right now. We're going to walk on back and let me know if you guys have any questions as I'm going, but here we go. So I'm going to walk, while I'm talking, I'll kind of walk a little bit through here. This is our lobby. There's 2 teachers. Say hi, Rita. These are the required posters that licensing will be going over everything. Those are there. We do have lots of signs on the door about excluding caregivers, staff, or children who do have any type of symptoms. We make parents wear a mask. That is required now for California, but we have been doing it the whole entire time. And there's also gloves that we provide for parents to put gloves on upon entering. We do ask one parent in the building at one time to drop off the child. This is our hallway. We have preschool side over here. We have about 110 children total. We do have infants. We actually went down quite a bit for enrollment. As you can see, lots of posters. There's also the visual for the children and also for the parents, the provided notes. The posters are very important for the licensing. Just, hi. This is Casey's classroom. The children here are waking up from nap. Valerie, Casey, and Candace. So we'll kind of just turn it over a little bit to Casey. And
hi, everyone. Can I see a thumbs up? Everyone can hear me? Yeah, thumbs up. Cool. Awesome, great, thank you. So this is a mixed age group. We have 3 to 5-year-olds, and we typically are having about 12 kids a day. So it's over our ratio from 1 to 10. So we're trying to find our best ways of keeping the kind of kids separated to make smaller opportunities. So down here, kids are just waking up right here. You want to say hi? You want to say hi? Good morning from all of our friends. Thank you. So our friend just woke up right here, so she's gonna bring me her bed, and then we're gonna have her put her stuff away, wash her hands, go potty, and then come and find a spot at the snack table. Our tables typically accommodate 5 to 6 kids, but with everything going on, we're trying to limit 2 to 3 kids at a table. Try to have more separation and more distance for each kid. And then once our tables are all being used, we spray them with our disinfectant spray, and we put a sanitized label. That way parents, children, and other teachers coming in have this visual cue where they're able to know that this table has already been cleaned. Move on to the next space. As you can see right here, we have once again a smaller group. We only have 2 kids sitting here, one opposite sides of the table. Once again, trying to have more space with the kids. We still have some friends still napping, But with the nap times, we're trying to have, once again, 6-foot distance from also head to head from other heads. In our classroom, we have 2 groups. We have our cheetahs, who are the 3-year-olds, and we have the zebras, who are our 4-year-olds. When we do our activities and when we have our meal times and nap times, we really do try to separate those 2 groups. So we try to have our cheetahs eating on this side and sleeping on that side. And then we have our zebras eating on the other side of the classroom and having their sleep time on the other side of the classroom.
Say hi.
Hi.
I like chicken.
Yeah. So gonna come over here, I'll show you really fast.
I'll see you guys later.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Activities that we are using for each day, we have them up here. That way we also know what type of activities we're going to clean throughout the day or at the end of the day. I am one of the closing teachers, so we use our disinfectant spray throughout the days, but in the evenings before I leave, I use our Lysol wipes. It's a harsher smell, so we try to let it air out overnight. But we Lysol wipe all of our tables and chairs at the end of the night. But all of our basket of toys, we've been very careful and mindful about what toys we set out for kids. Trying to put out toys that they're not going to be prone to put in their mouth. We've been putting away a lot of our kitchen pretend food, so we're asking the kids more to use their imagination rather than having the food, because obviously they're going to start putting it in their mouth. We're trying to eliminate that from happening. We also have a clean and sanitize packet. So if we see a child put an object in their mouth, or if there are certain objects that maybe have a deep clean, we put it in here so we can do wash them at the end of the day. I'll show you here. One of the things that I heard was people trying to find more independent spaces. So we have this little desk area to have one child at a time use for them to come and read a book on their own. Or we have an easel for children to do artwork, one child at a time. Try to give different opportunities for individual time. Here at the art table, once again, this table used to accommodate 5 to 6 kids. We're only having about 2 to 3 at a time. And rather than having communal art supplies, each child has their own cup labeled with their name. Each kid right now has a pencil. You want to say hi? You play peekaboo. Each child has a cup of crayons and a pencil. Markers and scissors, stuff like that, we still have put away. And then after one child uses them, we sanitize them before the next child uses them. Yeah. This is our sink in our classroom. We usually use this for teachers mostly use this one when we come into the classroom. After we enter the classroom, wash our hands before we start interacting with the kids or anything. Here we have our disinfectant spray put away out of kids' reach. What I've been using a lot for cleaning the toys are these plastic strainers. That way, they're able to air out overnight. It's been really helpful when I'm able to spray all the toys and let them air out overnight. One of the things we've also encouraged a lot of parents to do is to bring in a child's own water cup. That way they're not using the communal drinking fountain. With the water cup, parents are asked to take it home every single evening, wash them, sanitize them, bring them back the next day with fresh water. We can obviously refill it every single morning or throughout the day if the child needs it, but we're asking each kid to bring their own water bottle. Trying to eliminate cross-contamination. Yeah, I know.
A little bit outside. It's just the outside area. Just show you to the bathroom area. Very good to make sure the posters are posted with the visuals for the children.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's go wash our hands first.
Just a couple other things, kind of go over just the hand washing, making sure we're continuing to hand washing, the sanitizing the tables. You can also offer children the sanitizer as long as you supervise. One of the things that we do too is really try to disinfect the areas after they've been touched. Are the water bottles too close? We do try to separate and clean those often with wet wipes. And the social sharing, you know, we definitely try to make sure we're cognizant of all that.
And the water bottles are also separated by the younger and older group as well. So we try to, once again, even though we have all 12 kids in our classroom at a time right now, because of us trying to distance ourselves from the other classrooms, we do have our little group separated within 2 groups as well. So we have the cheetahs, water bottles all together, and the zebras all together. And if we see them touching, we try to separate them also. Hi, Leah. You want to say hi? I know. You like the camera, huh? I know.
Miss Casey.
Yeah, health checks and temperatures. So we do them in the morning at drop off when parents are here. That way the parents are also present when we're able to take the temperature. And if we see a high in temperature, they're asked to take them home right away. Once again, we also have thermometers in our classroom. So if we feel like a child might be having a temperature, we take it right then. And then we have the administrative staff come down and do another check. And then if it's a temp, we actually haven't had any temps. What's been really nice is I think with our avid hand washing, we haven't seen any high temps at all. But then we also do them again at wake up time. So we do them in the morning for sure, and then another time at wake up time. So those are our 2 mandatory health checks. Yes. Is our friend Sasha? You're right.
So right now we are, they're asking about napping too, but right now we are keeping the commingling. So we keep the same teacher with the same group of children the whole entire day. And then we have the same floater teachers do the same breaks for every classroom. Wearing gloves is not a choice for the parents. For the staff, it's just for feeding, and they wear gloves for serving snack. But we mostly just wash our hands and yes, and diapering. So as you can see, you know, it's pretty routine. We're just really beefing up our sanitation with everything here. So.
Christy.
Yes.
Christy, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you speak about the rule and the requirements for children at this age to wear a mask?
So we actually were just talking about that today. We have not, you know, mandated children to wear a mask. It is optional at our center. That could change. Right now, we're just making it optional. They do say children under 2 is not recommended. Part of it is, you know, we're worried about the napping, you know, and feeding, and how to do that with a mask on. They'd have to take it off, how to keep them separated, sanitizing the mask. At this point, we have not had any positive COVID, just so you understand. We're really trying to keep up that prevention. But that is something we talked about. That would be something, probably a decision that we'd all kind of have to make together. Any other specific questions or anything for Casey?
They were asking about, is there any sensory areas open?
So with sensory, we do have individual Play-Doh. So I'll show you what we have right there. We have actually closed our sensory vent, and now what I'm doing for the sensory vent is I'm using that sensory vent table to help me with sanitizing. So I'm able to put toys in there and spray them down. So I've been kind of using different areas of my class and trying to repurpose them. But we do not have any shared sensory materials available for the kids right now. Right now we have individual Play-Doh available. I have them with each kid's name labeled in their own Ziploc bag. So that way each child has their own little piece. But no, we do not have any shared sensory for the moment.
Are you allowing any observation students or anybody else other than staff?
Well, at the moment, no. Right now, I do have a student intern, but right now she's doing Zoom circle times and Zoom lesson plans. It has been a learning curve. We're trying to figure it out all together. But we still want to make sure that these students are still being able to get taken care of. So we've been working this to try to make it work. So what she's been doing is doing circle times in the morning at 9:45, and then we implement her lesson plan for her. She gives us a detailed description of what she would like to do. And then we touch base in the afternoon. and show her the documentation of her lesson. So we're trying to make it work for her because a lot of the students, you know, it's hard for them to, they can't go into any centers and stuff like that. So we're trying to make sure we can make the proper accommodations.
One of the things I was going to mention too is those of you that are reopening, I would practice wearing the mask all ahead of time because it is hard to breathe and talk at the same time. Sometimes it can get irritating. I'll let Casey speak with that too.
And we've been wearing our masks since the beginning of April. You know, we kind of made it a requirement for our staff members to start wearing it at the very beginning of April. And I'm telling you, the first week was really hard. You know, it's a new normal, and we're just trying to retrain ourselves to breathe and make sure we're drinking enough water. That's one of the things I'm struggling with, is drinking enough water throughout the day, because you don't want to keep touching your mask or anything. But now I'm so used to it. It's kind of like I feel weird not wearing it on with the kids. But what I really realize is the importance of our facial expressions. You know, we've already known that the kids look at our eyes, look at our faces, you know, really like look at our mouths when we talk. And so we're just trying to be more expressive. That way the kids are still able to communicate properly.
Yeah, some centers are not requiring masks, but we have from the very beginning pretty much. But you know, again, everything's different. Everyone has more strict rules, some not so strict. We're just showing you too that, you know, it's not too scary. It's something that we've been doing and something we're getting adjusted to. And, you know, the thing is you can do it. It just takes a little bit more cleaning, more patience, you know, keeping those kids from commingling throughout the center and keeping that group together.
Okay, going back to the Play-Doh, are you guys, are the children sharing the materials that go with the Play-Doh? Like the cookie cutters and stuff like that?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that last question.
I said that I saw the kids have individual bags of Play-Doh or the, you know, the sensory stuff. But are they sharing the materials that go with the Play-Doh, like the cookie cutters?
Oh, for the cookie cutters for the Play-Doh?
Yeah.
If we do put them out, everything's consistently sanitized. As you can see, there are toys out. We try to do more things that can be cleaned more, not like a lot of soft objects you can see.
Yeah, so I've been using these a lot. So green grass, like plastic grass, play rocks are really easy to sanitize and spray. And saving some of these animals and toys. You know, we have a lot of loose parts in our classroom, a lot of open-ended items. And what I was noticing within the last couple months is the certain creations that they make with these different loose parts. Sometimes they're making like these musical instruments that they want to blow into, and I'm like, okay, maybe we're not gonna put those out, you know, for right now because they're trying to put their mouth on it. So it's just once again just using a different set of eyes right now, being more mindful and trying to observe the different creations that they're making.
And mostly for the licensing, the Zoom meeting that I had, you know, they definitely want to make sure you've got the posters. You want to make sure you're utilizing your protocol for check-in and out for the parents. You know, we stopped our computer system. We only do one parent in at a time.
So this is our entryway. To the lamp up, so it's not too bright for you guys. So sorry. So we, once again, for my 2 age groups, I have 2 different sign-in sheets. So I have one for zebra families and then one for cheetah families. And here I also have any reminders for parents. So right by the door, we have self-monitoring and practicing your cough etiquette, how to monitor yourself and stuff like that. So all of these are required to be posting. This is where we have it, right on the parent's eye level so they can see it coming in and out of our room.
Licensing may also want you to do a pen clean bucket and dirty bucket. If that's your choice, you could do that too.
So I sanitize my pen. I have 2 pens accessible to parents, 1 in each clipboard, and at the end of the night, I sanitize both of them, and I put them away. So the incoming teacher in the morning grabs 2 clean, sanitized pens and puts them on the clipboard. Parents are also wearing gloves when they come into our program, so we're just another precaution.
Yeah, that's an extra precaution too.
Christy, this is a wonderful tour, but we want to say about 5 more minutes or so here.
Okay.
With the transition.
Yep. So Christy and Casey, one last kind of question while we're right here in your classroom, because the amount of wonderful questions that are flying through are awesome. Let me just center your focus for just a second as we're seeing that you have 12 kids in the classroom. What are some of the ways that you are encouraging children to remain physically distant? How do you do that? Because We want to be able to see that a little bit before we leave your classroom.
Of course, I will show you right here. So one of the things, once again, children, they need some visual cues. That way, they're able to start self-directing themselves. So for this table, I have just 3 chairs accessible, rather than having 6 on a typical day.
So 3 chairs only.
3 children, and so we, you know, with my age group, having 3 to 5-year-olds, the kids are pretty. I'm able to have this conversation with them and express to them. We need to keep our hands to ourselves. We need to try to distance ourselves from us, from teachers, from friends. And so when I tell them, you know, for this one activity, I need only 2 or 3 friends, and I put my fingers up, and they're able to recite it back to me. Yeah, 2 friends at this table, 3 friends at this one. So here, I'll walk with you, and I'll show you what we have. So right here, I have 3 friends playing with horses in grass. I'm not sure if you guys can see. Over here, I have a plain sanitized table. But once again, another small group activity is available for friends. Over here, I have another small group activity. So we're really trying to separate our tables and chairs. I've eliminated a lot of chairs in my classroom just to kind of monitor and make sure the kids are just piled up on top of each other. So separating tables, eliminating some chairs. That's probably the biggest thing I can tell you guys is just minimize a lot of things.
We also have a big classroom, so it does help.
Yeah.
And you can see, like, we try to have them as spread out as possible. Like, you can see 2 at the light table only.
2 at the light table at a time, and then once again after the light table, I sanitize and spray the tables before 2 new children come over.
And we also have outside, you know, we can utilize the indoor-outdoor right now because we only have 12. We're pretty good about trying to be able to separate. But if we happen to get more, we will utilize that outdoor-indoor space.
I am a closer at our center. So at the end of the day, when all the other teachers start leaving, I get a mixed group at the end of the day. I have 4 different classrooms with me for the last 45 minutes of my day. So I used to always have them come into my classroom, and I would, you know, have out certain age-appropriate activities and then clean them and put chairs up before I leave. But now it's, once again, being more mindful. So we're trying to give our kids more space, more open air. So what I do is, rather than having all these 4 different groups come into my classroom, we go outside. That way they have more open space, they're not on top of each other, and that way they're not sharing as many toys or materials. So that's been really beneficial. Also get some more energy at the end of the day. Help the parents out.
We love it.
Thank you. That's so good.
So Christy, we want to say thank you. Thank you for taking us into Gluck Childcare Center and Miss Ross's classroom. And we know that there are so many questions that this tour has brought up, and we are going to bring you back right after we go up a few hundred miles up to Ventura County. So Christy, we'll have some more questions for you. And not sure if we'll still see Miss Casey, but we want to say thank you for allowing us to come into your classroom and visit with your children and your co-teachers.
Of course. No, you guys, honestly, when I heard that this was happening, I am so excited that more programs are opening. But I just want you to know, I know it's a scary thing and I know it can be overwhelming, but you know, for us as professional childcare professionals, you know, a lot of things we're already doing. So now it's just kind of doing it more. We already washed our hands, just wash your hands more. We already clean more. We all can do it. It's just, once again, putting yourself in a new mindset. But just stay safe, stay healthy, everyone. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everybody say bye.
Bye. Oh my gosh, how much fun is that? So we're going to bring us back to our PowerPoint. Great. We're going to say bye to Gluck Child Care Center.
Bye.
But don't go anywhere, Christy, because we want to chat with you later. So just hang out.
No problem.
All right. So Michelle, we're going to, there you go. So in the chat, we want to hear from you. We know that you still have lots of questions, which is absolutely natural and normal. Are you feeling a bit more knowledgeable, a bit more confident to reopen based on that first virtual tour? And we are here to answer questions. We're not going anywhere. Just want to get a little read, right? We're in the business these days of taking temperature checks. So we're just trying to check it all out. And we are going, all right. I am so glad to hear that that was helpful. Really, really glad. And the Director Mentor Program, the California Early Childhood Mentor Program, actually is just really dedicated to making these times really worthwhile. So thank you for your questions. Keep chatting questions. I'm so excited thank you all for responding. Michelle, if you want to take us to the next slide, and we are going to actually go on up to Ventura County. So we are just making our way from the south, going on up north, and we're going to visit with Nature's Explorers Childcare. We're going to be reintroduced to another facilitator that was with us in our first session, Jenn Greenaway, and she is the co-owner, co-director, co-teacher, co-everything of this really wonderful, mixed age group family childcare setting. And not only is she co-everything, but she has also been really active in some of the AEYC work in the county. And you guys remember her, some of you guys remember her from our very first session. So we're gonna go ahead and go right on into her home-based program. And some of the things that I want for her to maybe just mention as she's starting is, how are some of those practices and protocols? You can go back one slide, Michelle, if you'd like. What are some of the differences and what are some of the similarities that we'll see? Because we won't go over the same kinds of things necessarily, but we also are going to talk about some of the distinctions, because we hope that we have family childcare providers on the call, and we want to talk about some of the differences as well as similarities. So we are going to highlight Miss Jenn, and there we go. And I'm going to turn it over to you. We're so happy that you're here with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming, everybody. Just as Crystal highlighted me, a really loud plane was going over, so I apologize if you can't hear me. I'm going to turn my video around, and we're going to go through our front door so you can see how things look here in our home-based program. If you have a home-based program, tell us in the chat so we know that you're part of our little group. So we leave shoes outside the door every day. That's something we've always done, but we really make a point of it now. And parents are not allowed to enter. We have a sign here. We meet them at the door every day. They're masked, we're masked, and the children come inside with us. So let's take the children's journey
Jen,
together.
can you speak up just a little bit for us?
Sure. So we come in through the front door. Our classroom is here on the left, but the first thing we do every day is go to the right and wash our hands in the bathroom straight ahead there. And of course we have the hand washing signs posted. And then the light. So we come right in and wash hands. Everybody takes their turn. We have staggered drop off. So if parents arrive at the same time, they wait for the family before them to drop off before they come up to drop off their child. So it's one child at a time coming inside. We're going to walk into the classroom. Hey, Jen. That's my business partner, Anne, at the table. My co-owner, co-teacher, co-co-co. No COVID. So we have an outdoor classroom. This is our indoor space, but we spend 90% of our day outside. You can see the door open and the window is open. That's a point.
Hello.
Because the airflow is really important. That's one of the CDC requirements. Here's our outside space. The spacing, that's why we have multiple tables, because the children sit at hopefully almost 6 feet apart while they're eating. We put them 6 feet apart when they're sleeping. As they said at Christy Center, we limit the materials available. So we have over here in our book nook, we've got some cozy space. And what we did is put a mattress down that's washable, and we can take the sheet off and wash it. So we tried to make things a little bit easier on ourselves. It's lots of washing, laundry and toys, but it's manageable. I'm gonna walk you back over here and show you our sanitation bin. So we have infants and toddlers and they're mouthing things all day. So when they are done using something, We'll just wait for you. When they're done using something, we just put it right in that basin and then we wash it when we have time. We use soap and water, we rinse it, we spray it with bleach and water, and then we rinse it again, and then it's returned to play. I saw a lot of questions in the chat while Christy was going about what you use to clean with. And really soap and water, bleach and water like we've always used, that works just fine. We also have Clorox and Lysol wipes that we use.
Your meeting ID followed by pound.
But soap and water works just fine. Sorry, I got muted for a second. I also wanted to speak to parent communication because our center was closed and then we made the decision to reopen when that started to become what was happening in our county. We had the opportunity to provide care to more than just essential workers. So for parent communication, we email, we use an app to keep in touch with our families. So we're able to use a messaging function in there to keep in touch with them. Good old texting. Someone's asking if we do temperature checks. The CDC recommends that if you don't have a touch-free thermometer, that you do not do temperature checks. And when we first reopened, we did not have a touch-free device. So we were not doing temperature checks. We have a touch-free device now, but our policy is that parents check children at home. Someone is also asking if we give hugs. You can see Anna's masked and she's wearing an apron. We change our aprons throughout the day if they get any secretions on them because we do work with infants and toddlers. That's the reality. Thank you, Anne. She's modeling this summer 2020. So anyway, we bring extra shirts and extra aprons and we just change them as we need to, just like we change the children if they have secretions on them. So we do give hugs all day long. We hold the children. We give babies bottles by holding them. We mask for close contact. And you can see here the individual art bags, as Christy Center spoke to as well. They have their own supplies so that we don't have to worry about them contaminating things.
And Jen, how many children do you have enrolled right now?
We have 7. We can have up to 10 at this time. So everybody's number is 10 children with consistent caregivers. And that everybody who does family childcare, that's our jam. Like we always have a consistent group with a consistent caregiver. So that's something that we didn't have to worry about. We didn't have to change. We don't have the large staffing of a center, so we didn't have to worry about how we were going to make that happen. So family childcare providers who are listening, this is definitely manageable because the family style group is what you're already doing.
Thank you.
So someone's commenting on soft surfaces. We've done a lot of research from CDC and NIH, and Johns Hopkins did a study on how long COVID does live on surfaces. And soft surfaces are one of the better surfaces. Anything porous is actually harder for a virus to live on. They need a host. So we do have soft furnishings and we do laundry. I see you spinning. We do laundry and we have a spray that works on soft surfaces, but we took out, someone had asked about dramatic play. We took out our dramatic play clothes for the most part. We took out our puppets. We took out some of our soft toys. So we do limit because, you know, just doing get overwhelming. So we want emergency.
And so Jen, since you're going back inside, you maybe we're going to talk about this anyway, but maybe we want to also learn a little bit about meals or snacks.
Sure. So we have children bring their own lunch. So everybody has their own lunch and they're spaced apart to eat their lunches. We provide 2 snacks a day and we space apart for snacks. So basically we clean before we eat and we clean after we eat. Wear masks and gloves to serve. Do we have other specific questions about that? Sorry, did you have a question, sir?
Jason, where do you go when you eat snack? Where do you sit?
Like there.
Where? I don't know. Who sits here?
The children are showing you where
Since when? Lucy, where
their
do you sit at
their
snack?
individual spot is.
I
Mhm, mhm.
You guys are very confused. You do not do well with pop quizzes.
Jen, I remember when we were talking before this that you shared with me a great picture of where you keep like the individual bags. Is there a way to get closer so we can see where you keep those individual bags? I thought I just saw it.
Yeah, we
And
keep them on our art cart. So normally this would have been free access, cups of markers, cups of pencils, everything shared. So now everything is individually bagged. But that's really the only difference.
Okay, thank you.
So someone asked about the blankets that are in a pile. Those are extra blankets that we can use to cover other surfaces that we sit on. So no one uses those blankets. They're just in reserve. So we cover the couch, we cover a chair. So we can switch those out.
Okay. Okay, very nice. One of the things that I think our participants would be interested to hear about, especially if they own their own program like you do, or they are in a site supervisory role, is your thinking around parent communication. We know that there is a lot that we have to think about, and everyone is thinking about their own context, right? So some of us are caring for essential workers, have been doing it a long time, but you're just reopening. What are some of the things that you have encountered that maybe you want to share that led your thinking on how you developed your communication plan?
So in our program, we closed originally because my husband and I had COVID. So we had to close for 14 days because of that, because we needed to see if anyone else was going to become ill and I needed to get better. So after that point, we had another family who thought that they may have contracted it. So then we had to close for another 14 days. At this point, testing was not available at all in our county. So this is very different now. Testing is readily available in most places, but this was back in early March. So anyway, after those two 14-week segments, we decided that what made the most sense was to close indefinitely until we had a better handle on the situation in the county. And that's when they had started to say that childcare should only be offered to essential workers' children. So we waited until that was lifted in our county and we were able to offer care to everybody. But during the time that we were closed, we were still in touch with our families almost daily. You know, we keep in touch in a variety of ways, whatever works best for each individual family, because we do have such a small program, and that's what you're able to do in family childcare. And honestly, you know, family childcare, this is our family, this is our extended family. And so we kept in close touch and we're still in touch with them. And we've modified our COVID policy since we've reopened. So when I originally drafted it, we looked at the CDC guidelines and we followed those points. So one thing that I think is really important for teachers and directors to understand about those guidelines is they do not recommend social distancing for children the way that they recommend social distancing for adults. So social distancing for children is keeping these cohesive groups and spacing them for specific routines that are higher risk. It doesn't mean that children cannot work together in a shared space. You know, like in Christy's class, you saw those children at the art table working side by side. And that's okay for children. Adults wouldn't be doing that right now, but it's okay for children because of their social and emotional development. So we followed those guidelines really closely and we've modified them as the guidelines in our county shifted a little bit. And we talked to families as we did that and gave them reminders about the things that we needed them to know. And one of the important things is just for us to stay really informed because the situation is so changeable. So we just try to follow it really closely. And some of those resources we're going to share with you. Those are the things we've been using to make our plans as we go along.
Thank you. That was really helpful. And we are so glad that you're doing better. I'm seeing another family childcare owner giving us a thumbs up. So just so much good stuff. And I'm just glad that you are healthy and able to share with us your program and your knowledge and your wonderful co-teacher, co-director, co-everything. I love all of that. I'm wondering, we already went outside. We're gonna say bye to Nature's Explorers soon, but was there anything else before we leave your program that you wanted to share or highlight? We're just glad. We're just glad.
One of the hardest things about family childcare is getting your hands on supplies. So that's been a big question that I've been seeing from other providers, and it was one of our hurdles. And that's another piece of family communication, because our families have helped us so much. We have parents and aunts who have gone out shopping for us. And, you know, at various times during the pandemic, it's been difficult to get our hands on certain things. And so they have just been watching to see when it becomes available, and they go snap it up for us. So that is like my biggest recommendation for family childcare providers, is to use that network. We do have supplies coming from the state distribution, but that takes time. And here we are using up our supplies every day. So we just work as a team to make sure that we stay stocked. So I recommend that. I hope everybody has access to that kind of support.
Yeah, that's really, really helpful. Really, really helpful. Anything else? Any words of encouragement or last kind of ideas?
Everybody is scared. We talked about that in our last webinar. Like, it's okay to feel scared. This is a scary situation because we never had this before, but you can do it. We're showing you that we're doing it and we're okay. And you're gonna find that as you start doing it, those routines just become your normal routines.
Yep. Thank you. We are so grateful to have had some time. I just love all the light that is coming in through all the different ways. And I just think that this is a wonderful time to be able to provide this much needed social emotional support, them being able to return back to their second home. As a former family childcare provider, I truly understand that there is something very unique about both experiences, the center-based program and having, you know, a much larger family and having the context of home-based childcare. So thank you so very much. We are going to pivot from Nature's Explorers, and there's so many thank yous for both Jenn and Kristy. We are, Michelle, gonna go back to our slide, and we want to be able to share some of our go-to resources in a way that you can just kind of lay your eyes on them, but then we're also going to be sharing with all the registered participants a handout that has these links. And so we just want to highlight that we have several resources, and these are go-to resources that were shared by our two educators that were so gracious to be able to share their programs. And I want to invite you as a participant, if you have a great tab that's open right now on your laptop, that you just put it right in the chat box, because I think all this information is necessary. So we have something posted here on the general California guidelines coming from the American, it's a pediatrics website. And then we have one specific for reopening, the CDC guidelines. Kristy especially will give us some more insight in just a few minutes around community care licensing, as she had a virtual Zoom tour and kind of a checklist. So there's that one. And then the last one are some FAQs that the NAEYC put out. And I actually found those really helpful, where they just have drop-down links where you can, they have a general question and then you click on the link and then you're able to get the information. We know that there's a lot out there. I'm already seeing people putting some things into the chat, and really it's just about getting those go-to resources that will really help you, because as Jenn and Kristy both said, it's always going back and checking every day if you can, to really make sure that you're in line. And I've learned so much from both of you at this point. So those are just a few. And again, we're going to make these resources available Michelle and Christy and the office at the Early Childhood Mentor Program are going to make sure that you guys have access to these resources. So we're going to move on into our specific questions that you all have been posting. So continue to put questions in the chat, and we're going to get to them if we can. So we still have about another 28 minutes or so. We know that there were some really specific questions, and so we're going to turn it back to our panelists. But if you also have a response to a question that's being raised, please feel free to chat in the chat box, because we know that you all are here because you also know a lot and are experiencing a lot. So we really value your input. And I'm seeing lots of great stuff in the chat. So Michelle, can you help start us off with some questions? And we're going to move through as many of them as we can. And if we feel like there's a need, we may offer a third series. I don't think I was allowed to say that, but I don't think I was allowed to say that, but we want to be responsive to your needs. So if it's possible, and I don't get in too much trouble, we might be able to, you know, do what we can to support the
as the mentor
We'll see
program.
what we could do. I should have asked permission.
No. We just can't promise it just yet. But
Yeah,
we will definitely, I can definitely promise this, that between Christy and myself, we will save the chat. We will go through the chat and accumulate all of the links that all of you are sharing. So like if you have things to share, please put them in the chat, attach files, those types of things, so that then we can then consolidate it all and share it back out to you shortly. We'll try and get that done by the early next week so that you all can have all of those links that you're sharing. So let's take a look at some of the chat questions. One here from Janet Roberts is, did you enroll new children, or are the children in your center the ones you provided service now with before? Does that make sense? So are there new kids coming in, or are they all children who have been there before?
You want me to go first, Jen?
Sure.
Okay, so we went from 110 on the Friday that they announced the closures of down to 26 on Monday. So we, of course, were panicking because we're trying to make budget and trying to figure out how we're going to pay staff and so forth. Over the length of time, we had a lot of people that were paying to utilize the service, but were not utilizing it. So they were saving their spots because I think it was a little bit of unsure about what was going to happen. So to make the long story short is I did enroll over gradually over the length of time. Not like I have been in the past, but just trying to make budget and trying to making sure everyone gets paid. You got to kind of do that over so many kids dropping out of the program. So I did, but it was gradual.
So same here. We've been doing gradual enrollments, and we tried doing a virtual tour for parents because we weren't allowing people inside the program from outside, and the virtual tour was a little bit difficult. I don't know, it was hard for me to read the parents as well, and they didn't feel as connected. They ended up enrolling anyway, but for our next tour, I decided to change it a little bit. And so we have them come late in the day when children are starting to go home. And most of our tour takes place outside as far as questions and answers go, because you can do that kind of thing anywhere. So we wear masks and we space apart and we talk. And then they just do a quick look at the classroom, you know, hit the high points, and then off they go.
Wonderful.
Another one was just a real pragmatic question. If parents are not able to come in, how are they doing the sign in and out?
Our parents do come in, but they come in one at a time. And that's how some centers have done drop off and pick up at the door. I just didn't have the staff to do that. But our parents do come in the center, but they have to have on gloves and a mask.
Okay.
We meet everybody individually at the door, so it's not a problem.
Very nice, very nice. Michelle, can I jump in with a question that I noticed?
Yeah.
And this is for either Christy or Jen, but it might be, Christy may start. And so one of the questions that came up early on was around making decisions and following requirements around children wearing masks. And I'm just wondering if we can give a little bit more clarity so that people know how they can make the decision and adhere to the guidelines.
We have opted as a center whole not to enforce it. We do have it as an option, just because we have a little bit of worrisome issues kind of going on around it, like, you know, making sure that they keep it on would be one thing, making sure that they don't pass it around or spread it around with other kids, like, you know, they share. But primarily we felt like from the very beginning that as long as, you know, you teach them to cough in their arm and cover their sneezes and wash their hands, we were pretty confident about not having to enforce it. We may change that at some point, but right now we're not enforcing them. We're just having it as an option.
Gotcha.
Yeah, same here. Our biggest
Thank
concern
you.
is that it was another possibility for contamination, and that they would have to be able to change them frequently, which is a privilege to have multiple masks to put on all day long. So that's just something that if it were mandated, we would be doing that for sure, but it's not mandated right now, so we're not.
And it's hard, by the way, as an adult to wear one. I mean, I can come in the office and shut my door, but the teachers are all day long, eight-hour days with a mask. If you haven't done that, I would suggest trying it. It's really hard. So that was another reason.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we have lots and lots of links. Trying to scan for questions. What?
I noticed someone wrote in there about the Zoom visit for the telecommute for the licensing, and I'm certainly more than welcome to go over that if that's something that you guys would like to touch on.
Sure.
Sure.
So they will send you a checklist. So that's something that I would make sure thoroughly to go over with everyone and all of your staff. Everyone, make sure you clearly read the checklist. They're going to ask you about how you train your staff on hand washing. So if you might want to put out a PowerPoint or something where you can do it virtual. They want to ask you your plan for illnesses, not only for staff, but for children, how you're going to isolate them, how you're social distancing, what are your strategies. I would make sure you tell all your staff there's no in-person meetings, that, you know, there's no gatherings in the lounge. They're going to look for every single sign that they put out to be posted around the center, around the areas where the children can see visually. They're also going to be looking about emergency numbers, making sure all the classroom teachers have those up to date. Also, how you're communicating the ratio and the natural attribution for those changes in ratio. Like how are you going to handle that if you have more than 10? I know if someone posted something, those are supposed to be lifted on June 30th. So, but right now we've been dealing with those the whole entire time since the new PIN came out. Monitoring, you know, that commingling, having a plan for that, how to achieve, if you do have a positive COVID case, I would also have a plan for that. Reach out to your analyst and find out, you know, what's your local department that you contact, what do you have to do. You have an unusual incident ready, how to talk to parents about it. Also, like I reached out to San Diego, you have to, you know, inform a certain department, which I didn't know. How do you handle PPE, arrival times of parents and staff, like how you bringing them in the building. Also, how with the pins was a big thing about signing in and out. And I think I covered everything. But.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was really, really helpful. And yeah, that was really, really helpful.
The ratios, someone mentioned the ratios are supposed to be lifted on June 30th. Right now we are having a 1 to 10 with the same teachers as best as possible in the classroom.
Okay. There was one question about what can you do to help staff who do not feel safe to return till there's a vaccine?
Mm-hmm.
How have you handled that?
I work for big corporations, so we have a lot of, I work under human resources, so we have a lot of plans for what if, also, you know, what if staff are scared to come to work? You know, we do have leave of absence. You know, we have mental health days that they can, you know, get some communication with online. But it is, you know, I think fear is one of those things. And as you can see, I think everyone can do this. They just have to beef up what they're doing every day in general. And some centers are more strict than others. We've been lucky enough, and we're actually, you know, in a situation we are dealing with parents who are around COVID positive patients. So we are really at high risk, but we have not had COVID here. We've been very good about cleaning as much as we can and keeping staff home that are ill, keeping children home that are ill, making sure you're sending them home as soon as possible, implementing that 24-hour illness policy, making sure they do not come in sick, and so forth.
Thank you. And I'm sure you guys are still looking at the chat, but people are still sharing sites, websites to things. And I think it's really helpful. Even if you just glance at it, it may or may not apply to you. So I just want to say thank you for those of you guys that are doing it. And Jenn, one of the things you helped us explore in the last session that might be good just to touch on briefly, because this is coming up a lot, that we are asking for people to come out of their private space and re-enter their classroom or reopen their family childcare, and people are scared. And I'm wondering what are some ways that we can really lift up that this is a real heightened like mental health emergency between this and what I call the double pandemic with the civil unrest, that all of us are just really, really experiencing a lot. So I don't know if there is anything you would say to providers or administrators around just that whole mental wellness and wellness in general that you might want to share.
If you guys haven't seen our previous webinar, that would be a great resource to talk about these mental health issues, because we did talk about how to handle the fear and the trauma that surrounds these events. Someone asked, how do you practice and promote self-care and mental health for staff? So for us here in our small program, one of the things that was most helpful to us was coming back to work and being with the children. So as fearful as you may be to return to work, you're going to feel wonderful being with the children. That's what you do. That's what you're an expert in. That's your jam. And that's the most wonderful, comforting thing, and for them as well. And beyond that, I think for staff, you know, promoting self-care and giving them the freedom to talk about what they're feeling, having that open communication where if they're worried about something or afraid of something, they can say so, and you can brainstorm strategies that would make it easier, because there's not one perfect way to do this, and we can find ways that work for everybody if we work together. So those are the things that I would say. I think to be with your extended family, which is what so many of our coworkers and the families we work with, that's what they are. That's the most comforting thing. And I really think that when people are able to return, they're going to feel like it wasn't as bad as they expected it would be. And in fact, it's really healing.
Michelle, have you noticed any other questions that you think? I'm also looking through some as well.
Some of the tips around the playground area, how are you working with cleaning that and keeping on top of that?
Christy, do you want to speak to, so we don't have like playground equipment here. If we did, we would sanitize it, clean it the way that we do the other surfaces. But as far as like outside things, we wash them. The children play with things and we wash them the same way that we would anything from inside. But Christy, if you want to speak to playgrounds, because we saw your outdoor space.
Yeah, same here. I mean, luckily we live in Southern California, so I would say utilize your outdoor space as much as possible. Fresh air, you know, feeling really good to be outside and you know, stretching, you know, not feeling so caught up in everything. But yeah, same thing, sanitizing. Another thing is keeping the hand sanitizer outside was one of the things that was very important for us. And to also, if you do use it for the children, put it in your hand first and then put it on their hands. That was something that licensing recommended us to do. And that's to clean their hands if there's no, outside soap and water, so forth. But yeah, definitely more cleaning, constant temperature taking, watching at what's going on outside, making sure they're healthy.
Well, thank you.
I think we've kind of covered it all.
I am so glad.
In the chat.
I wanted to, while you're looking, Michelle, I wanted to lift up something I learned from both programs in the ways that you're able to really utilize not just the outdoor space, but the feeling of it being outdoors, even when you're indoors. And I noticed with Christy that the access to just the natural light and how wonderful and uplifting and the morale building it is to have all that access to natural light. And Christy, I don't know if you want to share a bit more about the way that in Miss Casey's room that there is different lighting that you all incorporate as part of the environment. And then of course at Nature's Explorers, I mean, you can tell by just the name, the emphasis on outdoor play. And so anything you all want to mention or share with regard to that and the impact or what you're seeing as happening in a positive way for children and for staff.
You want to go, Jen?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
So utilizing the outdoors makes everybody feel better. It's a healthier choice all the time. And having the windows and doors open and letting the outside air in is recommended by the CDC, and it makes things better. When children come in feeling the stress and anxiety from home, and they're able to have that outdoor space and the outdoor feeling and the outdoor flow, that stress and anxiety starts to go away for them and for the staff as well. So actually that's another way to kind of practice that self-care, right?
No, I agree. I mean, a lot of children, like you said, I think Mary said from the very beginning, they know what's going on around them. They ask questions. I'm sure the parents here that are working with the COVID patients, we've seen them come in very upset and crying, and they don't want this to get to their child or their family. So we try to provide a lot of soft feelings, a lot of soft lighting, not so disruptive for them during the day so they can relax. So, just having different lighting just kind of helps the mood. We want it to be more relaxed here so that children don't have a lot of fear or concerns. And we try to leave all of our fear at the door is what I always say. Like, it's very hard, I'm not gonna lie, but we want them just to be kids and to be in the moment.
Thank you. Can I offer a follow-up question that's been coming up? I know a lot of what we're talking about today is really to offer what we consider are the practical tips for reopening childcare. And not that our panelists, our facilitators are necessarily prepared in a formal way to respond to this question, but something I want for all of us to consider, not just the facilitators, if you want to chat in the chat box, or Jen or Christy, if you want to reply. I mean, we think about all these health and sanitary ideals, and we think about being physically distant when we can and when we feel like it's appropriate. How are we, while we're wearing a mask and all those kinds of things, how are we really promoting relationships, which is the foundation of everything we do, when we are not touching as much, when our facial expressions are limited and we're doing things a little bit differently? And how are we helping children to understand differently, because we've always taught them all these things around sharing things and all of that. So if anybody wants to share in the chat and offer some ideas, or if one of you wants to share, because it is something that we have to really think differently, just in addition to the practical things like wearing a mask for 8 hours. I need to try that myself, Christy. So thank you for that, that challenge. But how are we really promoting those solid, trusting, consistent, positive relationships during this time? So anybody can chime in the chat, or Jen or Christy, if you'd like. So just a wondering.
Someone in the chat, they asked this in Casey's classroom, and then I saw they asked it again or maybe a different person asked the same question. They asked about the clear face shields. And that was something that we just didn't have because it's, you know, another thing that you have to acquire somehow. But we've ordered those because we do have a new infant starting who's 4 months. And so we wanted to have something that would give the option of showing a little bit more of our face as we get to know them. Because I think for the children that are already familiar with your program and enrolled with you, you're not really changing that much. Like we put on masks and our children barely notice, and they see a lot of expression in our faces still, and they read our body language, and we know them well, they know us well. But for children who are new to the program, that's really something that you want to think about is how you're getting to know each other with these limitations and restrictions in place. So that's just one thing that we're thinking about because we have infants. And, you know, our faces are so important to them.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
I was just going to add too, there's a lot of really good videos and books out for children like 3 to 5 years old that you can acquire, especially just, you know, they're old enough to kind of somewhat understand what's going on that you could show in the classroom. And I have to agree too, the face shields, we did order those. I know the YMCA has a grant that you can order some supplies with. But we just opted because we didn't, actually the hospital in general ran out of supplies. So we had to do what we had with what we had. And that's how I met you, Crystal.
That's right.
I think, you know, reaching out to your mentor program is the best thing ever because they have a lot of resources.
Woohoo! California Mentor Program. We need programs like this. Michelle, are there any other burning questions that we feel like we should address now? We know.
No, I think it's just everybody's just really, it looks like they're trying to grapple with clarity, you know, like what rules are changing, what are going to stay the same. Such a fluid situation. And, you know, of course, it's really dependent on where you are in the state and what your local. But I think these tips that we're giving them today are really universal, you know, what we're dealing with today. One question was, though, somebody asked about sand. Do they still play with sand? Or were they told no sand?
No one has mandated no sand. So there's still some sand and dirt happening.
Right.
For water play, we do individual water play, and it works great, and they love it. So that's something you can think about.
Okay. So until further notice. When is it? International Mud Day is, I think, on the 29th as well. So we have to think about that. Yeah, I think we've got it pretty covered though, Crystal.
Well, that's wonderful. So many of you guys have already said thank you to our facilitators who have taken us on a really fun way to just get a sneak peek of what it looks like in a real classroom or really a real home-based setting. And I just want to encourage all of us, as you guys have heard from them and hopefully each other, that we can do this, and we're going to keep sharing information. Like the panelists just said, we are going to look to groups like the California Early Childhood Mentor Program and, you know, all of our other resources to just continue to grapple with this. And one of the biggest things I always want to remind us is that we have to take care of ourselves for so many reasons, not just the practical, but we want all of us to be in this for the long game. And we know that in a whole different discussion, there's a lot of things that are just indirectly related to the classroom. The ratios are changing, and therefore the workforce is changing. And so we just want to be able to be in support of each other. So I appreciate all the questions and the links and just the participation that you all have shared so much. And Michelle, if you want to bring us to the last slide, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Michelle.
Okay. Here we are. So thank you so much for joining us today. This was a wonderful panel we've had. Like Christy said, it came along organically. She came on one day to our director mentor meetings we were having, And it just so happened it was just her and I and my other partner in the office. And we just had, wow, you're working. Oh my gosh, what's going on? And so she had so much to share that it just organically grew into having these facilitator panels. And we've had such great response with Crystal facilitating them. And then we brought in Jenn, and so happy that all of you came today and spent your time with us, and we're happy to give you these practical tips. And the chat is so rich right now with more resources that now we can share this. So it's like we're just widening the circle here of all the information, so that, you know, that's one of the things we knew would be so important is we would have to, oops, sorry guys, is to share with each other, because no one person has enough time to cultivate all of these resources themselves, especially when you're still in the classrooms. So we'll be happy to share those. Look for a follow-up from Kristy Ford, probably early next week after I'm able to get all of this. And somebody had asked about the previous webinar. Yes, I can share a link for that so you can catch up. And if we are able to host a third, well, we will. We will. We're kind of at the end of our fiscal year right now, and we're just not quite sure what we can eke out, but if we can, we may. And otherwise, I'm just so grateful to all of you for spending your time, and to our panelists. Again, big virtual hugs to all of them for their time in setting this up. And so stay tuned for your emails from Kristy Ford, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.